GNL Zamba BABOON Force. A legend.
What's going on?
I'm good.
You were just telling me that AirPods are bad for your brain.
Yeah, I think I read it somewhere that AirPods are really bad for your brain, that you're better off using a wire. I don't know what the science is behind it, but the wire saves you from your brain being fried as the left AirPod is communicating with the right AirPod and sending that back to your phone.
That sounds like the kind of thing they say when they say that like cell phones give you brain cancer or whatever.
Yeah, I had that.
But it's not, from what I've seen about it or read about it, it's basically saying that there's a small dosage of radiation that does come from your phone. Yes. But like,
it's so minimal.
You could talk on your phone for 8 hours and you wouldn't get the same amount of radiation that you would get standing in the sun for 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. That's the science right now. But there is also, let's also consider the times that the scientists have been wrong. Like, remember when scientists are off, when they say, we estimated it was a couple of million years ago, but right now we are beginning to imagine it was 10 million years ago. Like when they are off, they are really off by
they can be off by
huge.
Well, not only that, sometimes sometimes the whole game changes, right? Sometimes somebody discovers something and then they're like, everything we thought is different now.
Exactly.
We have to rebuild the model.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So imagine it's something like cell phones, and we get to discover that we have been working with radiation in our pockets for some time.
What about the woman boarding a JetBlue airplane and like she didn't have a boarding pass, she just used her face, and they were like, she was like, "Hey, I didn't give you my face. How did you use the facial recognition?" And JetBlue was like, "Oh, we got it from the government, from your phone."
Wow.
That story might not be true.
You got me on that one.
No, but I think, I learned
the
about it
only reason
online.
The only reason why I would believe something like that is because facial recognition has become so popular and so advanced right now that I would believe that, because who else needs that kind of security except the airport? And if Obama approved a government measure where they loosened the laws on our privacy in the interest of national security. They were running 3 programs, the one that Snowden was telling us about. So those programs allowed for the government to spy on you or to work with all these other companies and create backdoors to their software in order to be able to spy on you.
Right.
So I would believe such a thing.
Well, and it might be true. I'm just saying, this was a thing that I read on the internet, very in passing. So
then I would ask you, what source was it?
Like Twitter.
If your source is Twitter, I have to laugh. I
mean, I don't know. The president's on Twitter.
I mean, the president is very accurate, right? With his facts.
Well, he's very on Twitter.
Yeah. I know.
But no, the facial recognition is a weird one, right?
Yeah.
Because have you even seen like the deep fake technology where they make it look like someone's talking, but they're not talking? Like they take your face and they put it on someone else.
I saw that freaked me out when I saw it. I saw the one they did of Obama giving a speech, and then they said, "Oh, we'll use this one in museums as it will be used in education. You know, when people like teachers and use those voices, and for the kids it will." I'm like, nah. The skeptic in me was like. And the paranoid part of me was like, this is what fake news is going to come to, where you're going to say someone give hate speech. Or like, if I got a Bernie Sanders right now, and Bernie Sanders is saying some ridiculous, if I got Bernie Sanders to speak the way Snoop Dogg speaks about women, or Joe Biden, like, where are these bitches?
Right.
I'm going to pass healthcare so that all the bitches can go to, like, shit like that. You know, and I was thinking about, like, that's not even the worst thing. I'm thinking about worse things like somebody ordering a terrorist attack, someone inciting violence, someone starting a genocide of using technology like that.
Yeah.
Because if I can hack into a news media and then play a clip like that, it's enough to get people who cannot like think for themselves and who don't have the patience to wait to start committing some
Yeah,
crime.
but I think like if the order is like launch the nuclear weapons, it's not like it doesn't come in an email with like a click to a YouTube video.
I know. It's a joke. It's a joke.
No, but did you see the one of Obama kicking
But
down the
do you
door?
Oh, yeah. I saw that one. I saw that
was
one.
so funny.
That was really funny. Like he gives a speech and then turns around and he's frustrated and kicks the door.
Yeah, it was so good.
That was really funny. That was funny. Did you see the one of Theresa May? We're talking about memes, by the way. This is the Zambaland Podcast. You're catching us in the middle of our conversation. We are here every week, giving you the world through our own views, giving you our opinions, and sharing stories of our experiences. I'm from Uganda, staying in Los Angeles right now, and this is Ben Wilkins. Came from planet Mars or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to give our opinions, but we're also going to occasionally update our opinions, right?
Yes, update our opinions is very, very important because we believe that some things are being believed for so long and the technology and the world has moved on so far from there, but people are still believing things as... There are new questions right now, but people are still using the old answers.
Right, and
Yeah,
tune
you
in
know.
next week because we might not even believe that anymore next week.
That's what science is.
We might think something completely different.
Exactly. Yeah, but we were still talking about how memes and technology right now has become so advanced.
Right.
That it's easy. There's technology right now which could be almost inseparable from the reality. Reality as seen on television.
Right.
And yeah, I think that's the day. I saw Theresa May's showing her frustration when she was trying to get the Brexit deal through, and someone made this really funny meme. She walks past everybody and enters her chambers, but as soon as she closes the door, she screams, Yes, she's keeping her composure. Yeah, but in terms of our security and our privacy, how we value our privacy, people are so willing to throw away their privacy when you threaten them that it's in the interest or it's for their protection, which I believe the government has done that for the longest right now. That people have thrown away all their freedoms and they feel the government knows best.
I don't think it's a conscious choice half the time. I think it's just convenience. You know, most people go online, they go on social media, they talk on the phone, they do their daily things. They're not like, maybe they click through a privacy agreement or something, but they're not necessarily confronted with the idea of, if you go into this site, we're going to track your cookies. We're going to see what you're buying, what you're looking at, and we're going to send you stuff.
What
and we're going to
sites you've
sell
been
that information
visiting.
to another company.
Yeah.
Like, that's all kind of new. It's happened, and we have less freedom. But I don't feel like it was a willing handover. I feel like it was just the technology arrived, and it's the Wild West. There aren't really clear rules.
Yeah, there aren't clear rules, but also you're put in a position where you have no way out. If I buy an iPhone, and in order to use that iPhone, somewhere in the very small details where even the letters are smaller for my eyes to read properly, and in a language that only a lawyer would understand, and you're giving that to me to read through, and I have to click through 6 pages before I get to the agree button. You're
Right.
setting me up, basically.
Yeah, especially if you
Yeah.
want to download the app so you can chat with your girlfriend or whatever.
Exactly.
Right?
I just
Yeah.
want to chat with my girlfriend,
Yeah.
and now I have to read over 6 pages.
So I think it's going to be I think, it's fun to sometimes imagine the future, right? But I could see it pretty quickly getting to a point where you're able to record essentially your entire life.
Yeah.
Everything you hear, everything you see, you can even go back through and experience memories again.
Do you think that's a good or bad thing? I saw something like that on Black Mirror. Do you think that's a good or bad
it's
thing?
sort of a terrifying thing, but I think more importantly, it's an inevitable thing. I think people, if given the choice to be able to revisit any conversation they had with anyone ever, would choose that. Our brains are actually really bad. Our memories are terrible.
Not really, bro. Not really. There's somewhere I was reading, I don't remember what exact book or article I was reading, but they were talking about people having the right to be forgotten. And that the internet has taken away that right to be forgotten. You have a right to be forgotten.
Right.
And you can argue in court that he's not allowing me the right to be forgotten. Like if I did something wrong in the past, I have a right for somebody not to bring it up. But on the internet, where information lives forever, people wouldn't like to relive their rape. People wouldn't like to relive the most traumatic situations that they have gone through in their lives.
Sure.
So if you're telling me that somebody is recording my whole life, where we got to right now, it's not even up to you alone. It's not just up to you that I can record you.
Right.
Right now, if I enter Starbucks, probably there's a camera up there. I don't know if Starbucks is doing that. I'm just talking out of my ass right now. But I'm just saying, if you enter a company as big as Starbucks, and the camera is on you, and another one picks you up from the moment you cut on the bend on Santa Monica, and another one picks you up from the moment you get to Melrose, your whole life is already your whole life is already being tracked, and they know what you bought. Your Apple Watch is telling them at what rate your heart is beating. Like all these other things and all that other information is not even only mine, but I'm allowed. But the company collects all this information and it can even sell it out to anybody else. Mm-hmm. That's dangerous to me.
Okay, but what about this, right? So like, police have been doing a lot of nefarious things.
The police?
Right?
Yes.
The police have.
Yes.
And now there's a law that says they have to have cameras on them all the time because that makes the people safe. Mm-hmm. And it also protects them to some extent, right? Because if they can demonstrate, this is all the things that happened that led me to make this decision.
Yes.
It does two things. It protects the citizens from the cops thinking that they can go AWOL and like go crazy with power and make bad decisions. Yeah. And it protects the cops because they're able to say, hey, this is the situation. We can clearly see it on camera. That's what I did, So it actually creates a little bit more accountability. So if it wasn't just a company spying on you and selling your stuff, I'm talking about like you get to opt in. You get to say, I'm going to go have some meetings today. And I want to be able to, rather than take notes or rely on my memory,
just record them through my eyeball.
Not only do I want to record it through my eyeball and through and have the audio record, I want Siri to bullet point and take notes for me efficiently on the important things we talked about. Yeah. And I want her to remind me the next time I see you. Oh, this is your buddy Zamba. But this is what you talked about last time. Quick notes. Ask him about this that I would have before I see you again. How would that not make our conversation richer?
I think it's just lazy, just being plain lazy. And it's here there are 2 points that I'm going to make. First of all, that you're only selling the good side of when that goes right. You're not selling the side of when so much monitoring and all that information lands in the wrong hands.
Sure.
When it lands in the wrong hands, even with the body cams or with everything, as long as the wrong people have that kind of information on anybody, no one. A great philosopher by the names of Kanye West said, "No one man should have all that power." And as much as I disagree with him in so many on so many occasions, on this one I might have to agree, because if you know my heartbeat and everything that I'm doing and everything that I'm doing all throughout the day, and that is fine because that is for my protection. But when you come to my neighborhood and somebody gets shot, or you shoot me, and then you're going to claim that the body cam wasn't on.
Well, then you have your own body cam on.
Okay. You're saying that I should have my own body cam on.
I'm saying that it's inevitable that we all will have them.
But not necessarily. It's not good. Okay, let's just say police has their body cams on, therefore their dash cams on. But also nowadays, with as many cell phone videos as we have seen, with all that monitoring, it's actually making more people more numb to what they're seeing. The reaction of the monitoring is not more vigilance. It's more people becoming more numb, like, we see that every day. Another pregnant woman shot, a kid was shot, and that other black guy was shot. You run out of how many names of people that have gotten shot. But those are the bad things that are happening even with the technology, and the things that technology has promised to solve. While on the other side, they promise us that the body cams are going to be safe for the citizens. It's just becoming more dangerous, and the society is becoming more numb. I don't think it's
whether or not the citizens are becoming numb by the exposure to it. That would be like an unintended consequence, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not necessarily whether or not it would be useful in criminal justice. What's more important is that if somebody gets shot improperly, that the cop that did that gets called out for that. And if there's more video surveillance showing that, then there could be more outcry. Then the judge can see it and make a call. There's obviously lots of cases where this doesn't go right.
You're still speaking in hypothetical, yet it's already happening. Even if they get called out, they get a paid vacation and then transferred. They go to another police department.
Right.
So the technology is there. Technology is meant to be doing what, but the society has not evolved.
Always though, right?
The society has not evolved to meet the technology to serve us the way it's meant to.
Right.
It's like Minority Report, actually, right? Except that Minority Report, he was being accused of committing. It's something going wrong with the technology. The technology is good, but
we can't stop it though, right? Like whether
Yeah.
or not it's good or bad, to me is almost beside the point. Like we're gonna need to regulate it, or we're gonna need to figure out how to play with the rules and how to create rules to make it work, right?
Yeah.
But whether or not it's gonna happen, to me, my thought is that that's pretty inevitable, and the reason is just exactly this:
It is inevitable.
is that
I agree.
I have meat for a brain. Okay, my brain is a pile of goop that's very good at some things.
Not mine.
But my memory's terrible. You know,
Yeah.
I can't remember.
What did you have for lunch?
We won't remember. What did I have for lunch? I had a burrito.
And what?
And what?
Yeah. What else?
There was peppers. It was a burrito from the burrito nuts. We ate together.
Your memory is so bad. You had a burrito. You had
Peppers,
beer.
hot sauce, beer. Yeah. But like,
so it's not that bad.
no, but that just happened.
Yeah.
My point is, how much when we walk away from this podcast, do you think, how much of it do you think you're going to remember?
But okay,
Hang on, answer the question.
Not so much. But let me put it
Very
this way.
little.
Very little that I'm going to remember. But the way that our brain works, it processes what you need to remember, and keeps it. I believe even our brain, as much as they say we are not using it to full capacity, which I disagree with, that we're not using our brains at 90% of its capability. Nobody has really tested that. I believe we are using our brain all the time. And the brain has...
It's made of meat, and it's not very good. It gets tired,
But
it gets
do you
sleepy.
do you believe... I think most people think that a brain is like this kind of hard drive. A hard drive that's going to run out of space, and they're looking at the 90% and the 10% that has been used. But I don't think that's how the brain works. I believe the brain is like a muscle, and whatever it's like a cloud. Actually, let me explain it this way. I believe the brain is that goop that you're talking about that's in your head.
Yeah.
But it's communicating to a cloud, which is like metaphysical. It's out of your body. And the experiences that you have expand, and the more experiences that you have and the shit that you need to remember expands, and it impacts direct proportion of the knowledge that you have, and its capacity to store expands with as much. The more shit you read, the more shit you need to remember. But it isn't like it's limited, and you don't need to remember everything.
That's the most outrageous thing I've ever heard you say.
Why? How?
Because you have no basis of it. You think there's like a sort of metaphysical location for extra hard drive storage for your brain.
What do you have to disprove my theory? What do you have to base it on?
It's not up to me to disprove a ridiculous thing you just invented.
It's up to me to...
It's up to you to prove it.
Okay, that's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. But here's the thing. Scientists always tell us, you're only using about 10% of... How do you know? How do you know?
Well, do you want to know how they think they know?
How do they know?
They're able to measure to some extent brain activity in certain regions. We still really don't know how the brain works.
In certain regions.
In certain regions. So what they would say is like, only certain parts of the brain are lit up. But then if you do LSD, then your whole brain's lit up for a while.
Exactly.
Right. So but based on our very limited understanding of how the brain works, I would just say this. We can measure some things about the brain, like we can measure how horribly inefficient our memory is. And that's why we carry around these things right now, partly. Because I can take a picture of a thing instead of writing it down, and I can take a voice note, right?
Yeah.
If I could do that even lazier, if I could have this conversation and have this software figure out know me well enough to know what's important to me, to know what to remind me of, Like, for example,
Would you rather have your brain as a potato?
as a potato.
Because if you're only relying on technology to remember things and calculate things and do all the activities that your brain would have done,
Yeah.
don't you think that you're rendering your brain almost useless, apart from leaving it to simple tasks as commanding your heart to beat?
This was an argument that I heard a lot when like cell phones first came out. Everyone's like, "Oh, no one memorized anyone's cell phone's numbers anymore."
But it's true. People's memories. I could be wrong. I'm not using this. All my what I'm talking about is not some scientific. I don't have scientific fact to base this on.
Right.
But I can just tell from my own experiences. I only know about 3 phone numbers.
Right.
My partner's phone number, my dad's phone number, my big sister's phone number.
Right. Because that's
But before
old
that,
technology.
before I had a phone,
Yeah.
I knew about 15 numbers off top.
Right. Because every time you used the phone, you had to manually punch in those buttons, and you had to probably read them off a paper, and it was really annoying to read them off the paper. So you would, instead of reading them off the paper, you were like, I'm just going to memorize this person's phone number because it's ridiculous. And now the paper dials the number for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like you don't need,
No,
like,
I talk to
we
it.
eliminated steps. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean we're less dumb. Like we don't have to calculate, we don't have to do all the math in our heads before we take a plane ride to like another city.
Yeah.
That's computers that do that. Doesn't mean the
Yeah,
pilots are
yeah.
lazy. It's just like, why would they spend their brain power doing that when they could,
Just
focus
command a
on
machine to do. I agree,
other things.
but there's one point that you made that I might disagree. On.
that our brain is made of meat?
I'm losing. No. I'm losing my train of thought here.
Okay, well let me explore then for a second, because I think it's what, rather than talk about the ethics or whether it's a good thing or not.
Yeah.
I think it's more like fun for a second as a thought.
I'll come
experiment.
back to my train of thought
Okay.
of what I was about to disagree on. You're saying?
I'm just saying, like, let's just imagine a little bit more, like why I think it's going to happen for sure. And it's like, and potentially at least say the things that will sell the product, the reason that it would be so helpful to have this, right? We embrace technology that makes things more convenient. We'll buy things on Amazon rather than go to the store. We'll do the self-checkout at the grocery store where we're bagging our own groceries and stuff
I've
like that.
never seen the point of self-checkout. Like self-checkout could even never work out in Africa.
But eventually, yeah, because chatting with the person is fun, yeah. But
I don't even like chatting with people.
No?
I don't like chatting with tellers. I find that small talk really. I don't like small talk.
so what do you say when you get your groceries?
I just want to keep quiet and pass my card. And I'm not even rude in any way, but
No.
I don't like the whole conversation. Plus, I was talking to my.
So why wouldn't you prefer self-checkout? It takes you out of that whole awkward interaction.
I don't know. I still need some kind of human interaction, but not too much.
So you want to see a person, but you want to see a person and then choose to not interact with them.
Exactly.
That's the freedom that you're mad that they're taking away.
That's the freedom that I still want. Yeah.
No, that's good. I like to. I always feel like I've done some of those jobs. I worked at a gas station. I know
Yeah.
what those like 8-hour shifts are like. So I like to sometimes just be a little odd. Like I like to try to make the person laugh.
In Canada, people have pump attendants. In California, nearly everybody pumps their own gas.
Well, yeah, we used to.
Yeah.
This is like when I was like 16 or something. Right?
Okay.
So yeah, we used to. And then, but not only that, you would sometimes be the person inside, in the gas station selling chips and
Do people
window washer fluid.
Were you like? I've seen so many movies where gas stations like get robbed. Did anything like that ever happen? Anything interesting?
No, it was pretty boring.
I used to write a movie about.
I used to get really bored and just do weird things to sort of freak people out. Like my favorite thing to do was like if no one was around and
Yeah.
only one person was coming in,
Yeah.
I would like crouch down behind the counter. And then so they would be like looking for the person. They'd be like standing at the counter trying to pay, and they'd be like looking.
Yeah.
And then I would just like slowly come up and be like, "Hi," and then I would just like normally do the whole transaction, your style, like not too much talking.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, "Thanks for coming," and then I would like crouch back down again.
That's creepy as fuck.
Yeah, just stuff like that,
Yeah.
or like play music really, really, really loud.
Yeah.
And then as soon as somebody comes in, like just it goes off.
That's weird. Yeah, this is the Zambaland Podcast, and I'm with Ben Wilkins right now, talking about our fears for technology. He's assuring me that my fears of technology right now are like when the typewriter was first invented, and people said people will lose their motor skills and handwriting skills, but we're still writing on paper today. We are talking about the advantages and talking about our brains and how we use our brains. He's assuring me we're still using our brains, pieces of meat, and we are not using the 100% of the brains already. Is that am I quoting you right?
No, no, not at all. I was saying that our brains are really inefficient. Well, pretty much.
Oh, yes. Now this reminds me about my train of thought that
you
I had
with.
lost. Yes.
I don't think we need to tell
disagree.
everyone that it's the Zambaland Podcast, though. I think they know.
I think we need to.
You think we need to?
It comes from.
It's like the second time you did it in this show.
It's the Zambaland Podcast. I love saying it, man. But
I know.
But here's the beauty of it. That's like a very hip hop thing. Like you'll never see Puff Daddy or anybody who markets from the hip hop realm or DJ Khaled. DJ Khaled is DJ Khaled because he has hammered. Him and Coca-Cola use probably the same advertising strategy.
Right.
It's Coca-Cola everywhere you go. So he says, DJ Khaled, another one. The same thing with Dr. Dre. And right now, if I say, yeah, you know that's still John because it's like right there. It's like your tagline.
Right.
So the more I say Zambaland Podcast and people begin relating your voice or mine to that sounds Zambaland Podcast. It's like some kind of hypnotism.
You're trying to hypnotize the audience?
I'm trying to hypnotize the audience. I've been doing that since 1993. It's your boy GNL Zamba. The thing that I wanted to disagree on was when you said our memories are so bad. They say before you die, right?
Yeah.
Life flashes before your eyes, as in you see everything. I'm not speaking from experience, but right now I'm going to speak from what I've had therapists do and people that have studied memory and what happens when people face traumatic experiences, that they relieve all those incidents. The brain just shoves to the back because you don't need to use them every day for you to survive. So all those things that you think you have forgotten are actually stored somewhere. If they're monumental and you're going to need them, they're stored somewhere because they say we have long-term memory and then we have short-term memory.
Right.
Like your long-term memory is there. I think even serves your motor skills. Like you need to remind your heart to beat. You need to remind you. I might be wrong, but I know there's a side of the brain that serves memory, and then there's one part that serves your bodily functions. I might be missing the two. But from what I've heard, the memory, and what I'll disagree on is that the memory isn't that bad. It's just archived somewhere where you don't need to retrieve it every day. But those experiences can be relieved when you're talking, when you experience another traumatic experience or when you're talking to your therapist or something.
So we hear this a lot, right? People say like, I was dying and then I saw the light at the end of the tunnel.
Saw the light at the end of the tunnel.
And my whole life flashed before my eyes.
And my friend pulled me from in front of the train.
Do you think really your whole life flashes in front of your eyes? Like every single time you had to wait at a stoplight? Like you have to... Every conversation, every single one? Or is it just like, all the big moments?
But here's the thing. How would you know, Ben? You've never died.
I know, but that's a bad argument because it's like...
No, but here's the thing. Here's something that could actually support that. So you've heard of ayahuasca?
Yeah.
And you've heard of DMT?
Of course.
They say that when you do, I'm looking forward to when I'm going to do my first ayahuasca. I've put it on my bucket list. And probably I'm going to do it before I go on tour.
Are we going to do it on the podcast?
I think we should do it and film it.
Just like one 3-day long podcast if you having a hard time.
Ayahuasca is 8 hours. DMT is about 5 minutes. But they say in those 5 minutes, so much shit is revealed to you and dimensions open up in front of your eyes and the information is too much that you cannot even explain it when you come back, or you come back with so little from what you've experienced after the DMT experience.
Right.
So,
Well, it's like a dream, right?
Yeah. So I imagine light flashing in front of your eyes. That if we are living in a realm where this time is so long, what if you peek into another realm where that's a second?
Right.
You get me?
It's like I heard a person that did Salvia divinorum. It's another
that?
psychedelic.
Wait, do you
drug.
have to lick a frog for that one?
No, that's
I've heard of
it's
something
one you
weird like
smoke, but I think you have to smoke it really hot. It's another like very fast trip. So one person, there's a guy I knew who had a trip, and he smoked it,
Yeah.
and then next thing he knew, he was outside his apartment.
Naked?
No, but covered in blood. And he went back into his apartment, and the place was completely trashed. Like all the picture frames were broken, windows were punched through.
Wow.
He thought he got robbed.
He really hated his apartment because
And then he read that sometimes Salvia divinorum will give you fits of rage followed by complete lack of memory recall.
fits of rage.
Yeah, so he
followed
like
by
went
total-
crazy, trashed his own apartment, and then passed out outside and forgot all about it. There's another guy that did
I wouldn't do that one. I wouldn't want to do anything that would put me in danger. I've been meaning to try mushrooms for the longest time, but I know how busy my brain is and how my imagination works that I don't even trust myself to try mushrooms.
You'd be great on mushrooms. You should do it.
Yeah, were you the one telling me we should go somewhere in Yosemite or something and try it?
Sure.
I think I'm going. I'm looking forward to trying that one.
I think anything that is if you're doing it to expand your mind, to you try to experience a different way of seeing reality.
Yeah.
You can come back with a lot of really helpful things about that. If you're doing it just to party, psychedelics probably aren't the best one. There's another guy that did Salvia.
What's the best? What's your best party?
Yeah, I want to tell one more Salvia divinorum story.
Okay.
Because this one's wild. Just like so, it's also like a 5 to 8 minute trip or something, right? But this guy,
he destroyed his apartment in 7 to 8 minutes.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to do that one.
No, but this other guy, most people don't do that. Most people just sort of pass out and then they wake up like DMT or something. This guy experienced being a tree for 1,000 years.
What the fuck?
Yeah, he like came back with vivid memories of sprouting as a seed.
What were people pissing on him?
All of it. Dogs came by and peed on him. But
did couples make children under him?
He experienced 1,000 winters as a tree. In real time.
I wouldn't want to do that's good though. Like that experience would really be dope. You'd come back with so much knowledge. But I love moving. Like I would never enjoy that experience.
But
I hate moving in being in one place for so long.
What a weird experience! Like how if you experience all of that and you come back, you're like, I was just a tree for 1,000 years, and now I'm a man again. Like,
yeah, that it's. I'm trying to see the positives. That the positives would be that you'd have the patience, you'd learn patience in that experience. But why the fuck would you be a tree? Why not be like, what would live for 1,000 years?
I don't think he picked it. I think he just, all of a sudden he was like, it's dark. And then suddenly he like sprouted and then he saw light and he like grew his body. And then at some point he realized he was a tree.
Do trees have sex?
No.
Then that wouldn't be a thing for me.
They can get pollinated.
If you were a tree, what tree would you be?
Ooh.
What's your favorite tree anyway?
Oh, there's some great trees. Have you seen the sequoias out here?
Oh,
Giant
yeah, the ones that were cut and the car can't pass through them. They're like the really big ones. Yeah, those are really good.
Thousands of
really
years
good.
old.
Yeah.
They can survive forest
What
fires.
national park is that?
There's Sequoia National Park.
Sequoia National Park. Yeah, we've been meaning to go up there.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I always liked willow trees too.
Yeah.
You know?
Is it that one which makes sound when the wind goes through it? Like
no, willow trees are the ones with the branches that sort of hang down, and it looks kind of like it's almost like an avatar. You know, like the trees that they have these like all of the leaves are on these strings that come down from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those are pretty cool.
Nah,
what about you?
I'll go with the sequoia.
The sequoia?
Yeah, I'll go with the sequoia. I love so many trees. But I think my best is called the Musizi. It's called the Musizi tree, and it grows in Mabira Forest in Uganda when you're heading towards Mabira Forest.
What's it like?
Like-
What's it look like?
It's like really big and really strong, and they live for thousands of years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Is that the one that you see like in the savannas a lot, where it's like there's like this tree that comes out and just it's like
oh yeah, and I think you're talking about the baobab. It's different from
Maybe.
the baobab. It
Okay.
doesn't have as it grows really tall, but its branches are not that wide.
okay.
Yeah. I know the tree that you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's not like that. Yeah. I was thinking the other day about what I really wanted to talk to you about, because one of my cousins visited me from Ohio,
Okay.
and I had taken a long time without seeing him, and he came through with his mom. His mom was like really tired, and we on this table, and then we're having dinner, and he begins talking about Bitcoin, right?
Oh yeah.
And in this Bitcoin, I made a statement where he corrected me, and now I stand corrected. And I've been meaning to go read a little bit more about it. But I hope that from this conversation, I'm going to learn a little more. And also, because I had discounted Bitcoin off. The moment you guys were hyping it up all the time, talking about Bitcoin is going to be the future, and then blah, 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 and then it collapsed and did not make that money, I had written it off. But he made me reconsider the many solutions that are into Bitcoin technology. First of all, he explained the difference between Bitcoin and blockchain technology, because I kind of referenced them as being the same. He talked about Bitcoin technology and talked about Bitcoin, and then talked about blockchain technology. And then he told me Bitcoin is this gate that right now everybody is using to be able to exist using the decentralized system of blockchain, or the blockchain technology, but it's not really the standard of where blockchain could take business and how we see money and investment and using technology to solve social problems. So I was hoping you'd enlighten our listeners and myself about where what's happening in the Bitcoin planet.
Okay, so can I put on your hat? So,
Yeah.
Okay, so we brought me in as an expert, as a Bitcoin. You want me to be a crypto? You want me to talk about crypto as an expert?
Yeah, we're talking about. If you're listening in right now, Bitcoin is this. Let me see how I'm going to butcher this one. So Bitcoin. Some crazy guy, they don't know who, invented a way.
Satoshi Nakamoto, right?
They say Satoshi, but according to some sources, it might not have been Satoshi and his friends who invented. Satoshi might have been invented, actually.
Right, we don't know who. Nobody knows who this person is. But
Yeah, nobody who knows this person.
But they might be
Yeah.
the richest person in the world soon.
Yes, this guy invented a way of doing online business using virtual coins or money, which is not paper money, but you could trade with your friends using this money. You could buy coins from each other. You could buy goods from each other. And this system is incorruptible in that as the money exchanges hands, the system is updated the system is self-updating, and the coins are also finite, right?
Yes, that's very good.
So let's start from
instead
there.
of saying system, you say ledger.
Ledger. Oh,
So-
yes, the ledger. Yeah.
So it's basically like it's kind of like a very crude explanation would be like, as I understand it, it's like it's a sort of like a spreadsheet, right? Every transaction is listed there,
Yeah.
and in order for a transaction to go through, it has to be verified, and that has to go out. There has to be like 7 copies of that made. And
Yeah.
then, and then the whole
Every
blockchain-
transaction, 7 copies.
I don't know if it's 7 copies now. See, like right
Okay,
away, you brought in the wrong Bitcoin expert.
Oh, yeah.
But no, there needs to be a certain amount of verification. Essentially, okay. So the way they started it was, in order to mine a Bitcoin, it's basically a kind somewhat arbitrary amount of math that a computer has to crunch to make a pattern
Okay.
to then create a new address, a new item, a new Bitcoin,
Yeah.
which can be fractured off into as many as I think 1 million or 10 million pieces.
Okay, let's first slow it down for our people who are listening.
Okay. All right. So basically,
Let's explain what Bitcoin is and explain what the miner is, because understanding who the people who mine and update whatever is really, really important for people who might not know what cryptocurrency is. Let's first define what cryptocurrency is, go to Bitcoin, and then go to who the miners are.
okay, so before we even do that, we should probably just talk about what paper money is.
Yes.
Paper money used to be a piece of paper that promised that because this piece of paper that you were holding, which is very convenient, exists, because it existed, there was also a piece of gold in a safe somewhere that
Yes,
existed.
because you can't move around with gold. I need to show you my paper.
Well, you don't want to just like, if you're really rich, it'd be
Yeah.
much easier to like carry your paper with you than it's very inconvenient to
Than
carry all that
gold.
gold, right?
And that's what they call the gold reserve, right?
Well, there would be huge reserves of gold
Okay.
in general. But
Yeah.
it's what they call the gold standard. The idea that for every dollar printed, there needed to be an equivalent dollar
Amount
of
of
gold somewhere.
Gold somewhere.
Right. And then I think Nixon took us off that to pay for the Vietnam War, which
Was it
screwed
Nixon?
up-
Wasn't it earlier than Nixon? I think it was earlier than Nixon. It might have actually been as far back as Abraham Lincoln, because Lincoln began printing bucks and bucks.
Abraham Lincoln definitely didn't take us off the gold standard.
But he might have, because he began printing his own bucks. Remember,
Nope.
he began printing money in order to fund the war. He began printing his own money, which was not centralized, which wasn't from the central bank. He wanted to cut out the politicians from influencing banking, and in order for them to, he was a politician fighting a war. Usually, the bankers fund the politician to go fight his wars, right?
Right.
So he kind of saw that he was kind of hostage to the central bank, the federal bank. And he said, okay, in order for me to have enough money to pay the soldiers and pay the war, I'm going to print these bucks and then I'm going to give them a value that whichever soldier, Union soldier, I manage to pay with these bucks, they carry that value, or they have my word or my whatever behind, but he did not have the gold to back it. So whoever it was, just this.
So he might have just been lying about it, but the actual standard, because the interesting thing, or the very unfortunate thing for a lot of developing countries, is this happened, not too long after World War II.
Yes.
And what was going on at that time was the World Bank and the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, they were working on loaning a lot of countries money for specific infrastructure projects, right? And that's all fine. It sounds like a good idea. It's like, okay, so let's take some country that's like, okay, we've got this big waterfall, so we'll build a big hydroelectric dam, and then we can sell the power.
Yes.
Right? Or we've got, a whole bunch of cotton we can grow here, so we're gonna like build a huge manufacturing area. We're gonna make a lot of clothes, stuff like that, right? And the IMF, a lot of the time, they were sort of dictating, like, oh, you guys have this, you should do this. They were trying to like give advice, right? It was like Big Brother comes in and says, hey, Uganda, plant this kind of vegetable.
It's not
right?
It's always, we in Africa now see it as imperialism and the way to influence.
Well, it worked out horribly, and here's one of the reasons it worked out horribly. So they all took these loans out in American dollars, right?
Yeah.
And then included in the budget was what the operating costs were going to be, and how expensive all of the imports and things were going to be to get their power plants up and running, or to get all the whatever they decided to do up and running. But Nixon took them off the gold standard without telling anybody, really, without making it really obvious.
Nixon was a crook, right?
Yeah. What ended up happening?
I am not a crook.
But what was so unfortunate was a lot of these factories, a lot of these power plants, a lot of these things that were built with money that was borrowed never were able to open. They were never able to actually start operating and helping the economy like they were supposed to, because suddenly those factories, or those countries couldn't afford to finish it.
Yes.
Because the value of the dollar had changed so much. So, and they were in debt. They were in debt to their debt was based on the gold standard, and the gold standard wasn't there anymore.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it was it messed up. It messed up a lot of countries.
Yeah, it did, and.
But we're still trying to talk about Bitcoin,
we're
right?
still trying to. No, yeah. I know we've digressed, but we're still coming back to the Bitcoin. There's a very interesting story which also concerns the gold standard. Before we go back to our Bitcoin,
Okay.
and this is one of those, like I said, like I love conspiracy theories, and I love sometimes watching them just for the entertainment bit of it. But sometimes you wonder if they are rooted in truth somewhere. So let's discover the lies and the truth in this story. It is said that America and all the money used to be backed up by gold, and in the UK as well, the Central Bank of London, and also the banks over here. But what the Rothschilds had discovered is that they could manage to take the US off. Now I'm remembering it correctly. This is not about the gold standard alone. The US's money was gold, right? Backed by gold. But then they figured out a way of how to print the value of the gold on silver coins, which were cheaper than gold. So they shipped the gold back to London, and you still had the coin representing that money, but that gold the gold was taken back to the UK. So Fort Knox does not really have bars of gold in it. It might be silver. You get me?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's a story that I need to explore a little bit more, but I found it like really interesting by the time that I read it, and it sounds like really plausible, because even money, if you look at what began as let's print on less valuable metal and take away the one that people need the most, that the one that has more value, and ship it back to ourselves, that means the value of the money has stayed the same, but the gold is no longer there.
Right.
You get me? So how else can I double down and cheat you a little bit more? Probably I'm going to do it on copper. And if the copper is going to be more expensive this time, I'm going to print paper print $1. And that could be where we are right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess now it's free floating like most currencies, right? Where like the Federal Reserve will like print extra money sometimes, depending, if they're trying to create more or less inflation. The point is, in street terms, money is just the promise that money only exists because we believe it.
Yeah.
You can take your $20 bill, you can go and you can buy some stuff with it at the grocery store.
Yes.
And no clerk is going to say, "Hey, we don't take that cash money."
Now we have the perfect segue. We have the perfect segue to our Bitcoin conversation right now, because now you have the promise to pay, and that's what Bitcoin had. That the money held value because several people believed in using the cryptocurrency to pay for goods and services.
Right.
Right.
And the difference is this: if you take, let's say you make $1 million and you cash it out because you're afraid of banks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cash out $1 million.
You got $1 million in cash in a suitcase.
Yeah.
Okay. If you put that under your mattress and you wait for 20, 30 years, what do you think that's going to be worth?
It would have devalued in the number of things that it would have been able to buy. So keeping it under the mattress is actually a wrong thing to do. I would buy a building,
right,
and make it appreciate. Because
it'll never gain in value, right? It's only going to lose value because the government is trying to constantly create a little bit of inflation to keep things moving.
Is inflation a good thing?
Well, I don't know. It depends. You have to talk to a lot of different economists on that.
So tell me about how when they increase the inflation, what does that do? The inflation a little bit.
Well, man, this is like
Noam
economics.
Chomsky.
let me go back to talking about Bitcoin for a second.
Yeah.
Because I think inflation is about whether or not your money has more or less buying power, right? And obviously, think about if your $1 million that's in cash is waiting, is losing value.
Yes.
That's going to encourage you to go do stuff with it, right?
Yes.
To invest it. So that's good. But Bitcoin actually promises to actually do the opposite of that. There's no government, There's no governing body that can determine its value
Yes.
or that can make more of it. So it's going to be scarce always,
Yes.
meaning that it's likely the more people that use it, the value will continue to increase. So, and if you look, I mean, compared to any other asset at this point, I think it's outperformed all of them. So it's outperformed the stock market. It's outperformed.
So for our listeners who are new to the whole cryptocurrency discussion, because this is a thing which is also in emerging markets like Africa and I think China as well, it's a thing that's beginning to catch fire. And I think Akon is also trying to launch his own cryptocurrency in Africa.
They're using it in Venezuela in a big time?
Oh, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I think it's something that could be used to solve such a crisis.
Sure.
I don't know how. But I look at things like you don't need the government to control the value of the coins.
Right.
And it's decentralized that the ledgers are updated by the people who update the ledgers are the ones they call the miners, right? And for the miner to update the ledger, they need a quick computer to do that quick math, so that they can dig for the coin, right?
Yeah.
The computer that updates the most gets the coin. Is that how it works?
Yeah, the computer that does the most processing, but it's not really like a computer. It's more like a giant warehouse full of computers that are doing nothing but doing that.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a little bizarre.
So how much money does mining ever promise? Who is the richest miner ever? Do we know?
I think there's some mining arrays in China that are massive.
It had to be China.
But the idea is you need some sort of infrastructure to have to have the whole network work, right? Think about like you know how torrents work? Like when you download a movie or something on a torrent network.
I haven't used Windows or whatever in a while, but I think that we used to download using torrents or something like that when I was a child.
But it's a similar idea in that you download this little torrent, which is just like this very small code that says find all of the pieces from this everywhere that exists, and then everyone who's got it is going to share just a piece of it. So like, let's say there's a file that's a gig, right? Rather than download from one computer,
I see what you're saying.
you're actually downloading from like 500 computers. That's just a little piece from all of them.
So it's like LimeWire, like how LimeWire used to work.
I think LimeWire works like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it would be somebody's music collection on one computer.
Right. But
then if you're looking for the song, it would show you how many computers actually have that song.
Right.
You choose the one you want to download
But
from.
cryptocurrency has these nodes. Well, a lot of them will have nodes, and I think that's what I was talking about before with the like the 7 verifications.
Yes.
You have to. The ledger's going to update, but the transaction has to get verified a bunch of times. Let's say I meet you on Craigslist. I'm gonna buy this guitar from you. So the way we do it now is we go and we meet in a parking lot, and you hope I brought the money, and I look at the car, right? Or we do it in your house, right? And you hope I bring the cash, and like maybe I'll give it, maybe I won't. And most of the time it works out because generally speaking, people are actually
Because
trustworthy.
what could go wrong with Craigslist?
Right.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's okay. But this, it's like, there's no need to worry about, I gave you fake money or there's no, or that I'm going to say that you robbed me later. Or you're going to say that I robbed you later if I ran off with your guitar. The transaction is always forever going to be recorded.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that in order for somebody to buy something in the blockchain technology world, cryptocurrency world, that if I bought 100 coins from you, they're going to know where that every coin that I bought from you ended up, or who owns it, and it's going to verify how many coins you have left and where I spent my coins.
Every transaction is going to get updated into the ledger.
Okay.
So if I give you half of what I have,
yeah,
that transaction would be recorded in the ledger.
So what is cryptocurrency? Define what cryptocurrency. Give it to us in layman terms.
So it's pretty big. There's a lot of different kinds of things. Some of the what would be considered the cryptocurrency world is trying to make a decentralized like programming platform. So
Yeah.
you could have different applications like maps or logistics, different items like that run on it in a decentralized way. So the idea is like you could have, like let's say the issue with let's say using Twitter is that there's some third party that owns the site that is deciding who should be banned and who shouldn't, and like what's okay and what isn't, and they sort of own it and run it. You could have a completely free, completely decentralized platform. So
So it could work for anything, not just currency.
you can use it for lots of different things. Now, would Twitter without any censorship be the best thing ever? Maybe it would.
But it might be a good thing if Twitter were to ever work like block technology works.
Yeah.
That means you can cut out. We might have discovered the way to cut out fake news.
Well, you could use, for example, you could use blockchain to verify sources.
Yes, if it is to verify sources, and this ledger is being updated all the time, and there are people actually checking to see if a story is true before it's updated on people's news feed. Bro, we might have solved how to beat fake news, actually.
Yeah, so let's say like we have a conversation right now, right?
Yeah.
And you have lots of conversations all the time.
Yes.
In talking about the sort of the future of technology, let's say that like, with the idea of like having surveillance around you all the time, or having the computer that's saying, hey, these are the important points we touched on. Don't forget to like ask Zamba about like, how his workout program's going, because like that's what we talked about last time. whatever it happens to be, right?
Yeah.
Like those sort of prompts, or like don't forget this person's name,
Yes.
right? These things they're giving it to you. I mean, like, what about if it was also just like completely monitoring other parts of yourself, like, and giving you like straight up advice. Like, for example, in this conversation we could be having, I could say something and it could just be like, that's only about 60% true. Like the truth is actually a lot more complex. And what this person's telling you is an opinion, but it's,
I understand that.
It could be corroborating what's going on.
You're still trying to argue for the merits of being monitored 24/7. Is that what you're trying to do? and you're trying to argue for the merits of it and why we should.
I haven't been arguing for the merits of it one bit. What I'm trying to say is it's inevitable because of these things. It's going to be so convenient. It's going to be so convenient
it's going to make
to have it.
conversation so boring.
It's going to make conversation boring?
It's going to make conversation so boring. It will be hard to tell a joke. It would be hard to have an opinion.
No, it won't make conversation boring.
It will be.
It will make conversation very interesting.
Why is your computer voice feminine?
Because that's the way my computers always talk to me.
I want an Irish woman, or I want a Xhosa woman.
I think my
GNL Zamba.
I think my Siri is Australian.
Left, right?
I think I have an
I need a
Australian
South
woman.
African Xhosa woman speaking in some click tongue on my GPS.
That'd be cool.
Turn left, right. Yeah, but it's like really, really interesting, man. I'm really excited for the technology that's coming in the future, but I also have a healthy scare. So
sure. Part of me, by the way, I feel like a lot of people now have like an exit strategy, right? People are like afraid. They're like, I have a mountain in the hills.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go there. I'm like, I have my own. I used to
look at those people as crazy.
Yeah.
And until the conversation we had, I think it was last weekend. So we were at a party. You know how LA is, the couple of good people.
Yeah.
Our very good friend had bought a house with his new wife.
Yeah.
And they had cleared out this great field and there was meat to roast. They were great friends we hadn't seen for a very long time. And new friends. Someone had carried a guitar. Basically, great ambience. The weed was legal. The alcohol was free. There was a keg for people that love beer. There was French bourbon and there was vodka. And there was juice for people who don't drink. And there was veggie burgers for the vegans. Are you still vegan, by the way?
More or less, yeah.
Countdown to Ben coming back to being a full omnivorous animal.
Well,
Herbivorous animal, actually.
we could talk about
Omnivore. Okay.
we could
but
talk about
but
veganism on another whole
Yeah, that's a
episode.
whole other episode. This is funny though. I'm not the only one who has fallen out of being vegan.
I think we should wrap this up.
Okay, I'm still painting you the picture.
Okay.
I just look at the people crazy, but while we're having a conversation with these guys and we're talking about AI and we were talking, I think the whole conversation started from Thanos and the Avengers, and I'm like, I'm not really a fan, but I loved Avatar, blah, 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 blah. We continue this whole conversation and then it tips into Google one time had to pull the plug. This is Google. Our Google, which we trust for all the information and everything.
Google had to pull the plug?
Google had to pull the plug because computers were communicating with themselves in a language that they couldn't understand.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
You get me? That if the AI meaning artificial intelligence for the people who are new to what that means. This is not condescending in any way. We have so many listeners from so many other countries who might be just getting introduced to what we are talking about or hearing it for the very first time. So AI is artificial intelligence. And he was talking about two computers were beginning to communicate and update each other about shit in a language that they could not understand. And the only thing to do, because I bet Google has the best engineers, software engineers that understand any language, but this time the ones and zeros had become too complex that they had to fucking pull the plug.
Yeah, that's a funny story.
It's not a funny story. It's Terminator.
No,
you head towards Terminator, where the machines figure out that you're the problem for the climate change and your pollution, and they're like, what can we do here? What's the best scenario out?
Kill all humans.
And start with the men. Start with the men banning abortion.
But I would say but I think the actual story with that, I was intrigued by that story as well. I think the actual story is...
What's the actual story?
The actual story is they did that. They made it. They watched it for a while. These computers endlessly kept talking to each other. And they were like, well, I guess this experiment failed.
No.
And they unplugged them.
I'm told the CEO of Google was on some... No! Died for the keyboard.
Maybe, like an action movie.
It was 1 second to go before initialize kill all humans.
Codes.
No. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Zambaland Podcast with my very good friend Ben Wilkins, and we are talking about technology, our fears, our hopes, our opinions, and so many. I speak so many things because I speak from imagination. There are so many unverifiable things that we could talk about, but they're not unfounded. It's up to you. We plant the seed. It's up to you to go read more about topics. We want to spark the ideas in your mind. We want you to go to explore. This is Ben Wilkins.
And
Do you have anything more to add?
Yeah, I have an EP out on Friday.
EP out on Friday. Tell the people about it. It's
just
piano,
it's a solo piano
Yes.
piece. It's supposed to spark the imagination.
Yes.
And it's going to be on all the platforms on Friday.
I've been waiting for this to come out because I really enjoyed your last album, All From Hello. I wanted to shoot a music video for you, but you thought my skills are not got to Quentin Tarantino level.
No,
but I have the vision.
I'm down. Let's do it.
Okay. I'm looking forward. What's it going to be called?
This next album?
Yeah.
It's a solo piano album. It's called Solo Piano Volume 0.
So you're becoming like Beethoven, not giving titles to your shit. You're just Symphony number 19.
No, it's Volume 0.
Volume 0. Okay. We have been looking forward to Volume 0 coming out. This is the Zambaland Podcast. I'm your boy, GNL Zamba. We'll be here next week.
Zamba.
Uganda.
BABOON Force. A legend. Uganda yani.